Now today is a particularly special day for two people in this audience who have never met each other before, and one of them is alive today thanks to the generosity of the other. So please help me welcome Susan on stage. Susan is here today from her adopted hometown of Chicago. She's 59 years old, a pet lover and activist, and she's also a management consultant. Now, the story of Susan's transplant began in April of 2012. She was very susceptible to strep throat, so she would visit her doctor often as a result. But when she went to see him one particular time, he decided to run some blood work. Not a problem, she had the blood work. Like a responsible person, she filled her prescription and she went home. But 2 days later, she received a call from the doctor's office. She was called back in for her doctor to tell her she had leukemia. And at that point, she was told she'd be meeting with an oncologist hematologist the very next day and would be admitted into the hospital for at least 30 days. In shock, she made arrangements for her pets, closed her home, and pulled together all the necessary documents she would need. She began to get accustomed to the fact that she her first round of chemo. She didn't think much about the transplant process, and she was surprised to learn how scary the statistics can be, the percent of donor requests that go unfilled, and how long it can take to find an acceptable donor. But she was lucky. She learned that a donor had been identified less than a month after her first visit with the transplant coordinator. She said her medical team was openly surprised by the quickness and quality of the match, and her doctor was so excited that this donor was a perfect 10 out of 10 match, and he's so young. Her transplant took place in July of 2012 at Northwestern Memorial Hospital. She credits her recovery to her best friend Judith, who was there from the moment of her diagnosis through her recovery. She is right there. Her brother Jim called her every day and flew to Chicago from Baltimore for every hospitalization. In addition to Judith and Jim, Susan's overcome with emotion to the many friends and family who visited her in the hospital and home, brought her food, took her out on excursions, and constantly. The transplant process itself is anticlimactic, with it being pretty similar to a blood transfusion. But she said what's different is the knowledge of how special the transfusion is to her survival. She describes her donor as being wonderful and generous. She's also very curious as to why he became a donor in the first place. Well, Susan, it gives me great pleasure to tell you why. Your donor is 21 years old. He recently graduated from Syracuse University. He said signing up as a potential donor sounded like a no-brainer, and he swabbed his cheek in the summer of 2011 on a birthright trip. He never thought he would be called as a match, and hearing the news that he could save your life is a moment he will savor for the rest of his life.
She's my best friend.
He said he was overwhelmed with a sense of purpose, knowing that at the age of 20, his life was valuable to someone else's. Throughout the donation process, he felt blessed to have this opportunity to be able to help you. He never once questioned going through with it, and he's unsure why anybody else would, miss out on an opportunity to do something this valuable for someone else just like you. Your donor is thankful to Gift of Life, who helped him through the process, and they were present on the day of his donation. When asked if he would donate again, he said he would each and every day for the rest of his life. Susan, I am thrilled to introduce you to your life-saving donor, Alec. Alec, please come on stage.